Let's try that again. Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to Temple Emanu-El. It's so nice to be here once again. Thank you for inviting me, Rabbi. Our service begins on page 4 with the singing of Hine Matov. Hine Matov u'manayim Shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hine matov u'manayim Shevet achim gam yachad.
And let me stress, it's a pleasure and honor to have my buddy, my pal, Cantor G back and join us for Shabbat services, while Cantor Whitner and Alex, he finally has time off, and they should be enjoying some nice rest. Is it down or up at Lake Martin? Down at Lake Martin, I think, right? We're not in our head. Down at Lake Martin. Okay. We turn to page 9 for our Shabbat candle lighting. See, in Michigan, we say up north. Never mind. That's where the lake is.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
For those who are able, we rise together for Kiddush, the top of page 10.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho mi'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila למקראי קודש זכר לציית מצרים כי עבדנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Please be seated. We return to the top of page 4 with Roman Mu.
Please join me. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachvu l'har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachvu l'har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachvu l'har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachvu l'har kodsho. Lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad hishmianu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad shemu tiferet v'litilav. Lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lecho v'nelecha ki hi mekor ha'beracha b'rosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh machshavat echilav. Lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri ki vorech kumi uri shir daberi kevod Adonai alayich niglat.
We rise together and greet the Shabbos bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret ha'nagam b'simcha u'v'tzohala toch emunei am segula. Boi hala lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We remain standing and we turn to the bottom of page 11.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Borechu et Adonai amevorach. Baruch Adonai amevorach le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
Please be seated. The bottom of page 13, as the great Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav taught us, Master of the universe, grant me the ability to be alone. May it be my custom to go outdoors each day, among the trees and grasses, among all growing things, there to be alone and enter into prayer. And there may I express all that is in my heart, talking with God to whom I belong. And may all grasses, trees, and plants awake at my coming, send the power of their life into my prayer, making whole my heart and my speech through the life and spirit of growing things, made whole by their transcendent source. Oh, that they would enter into my prayer. Then would I fully open my heart, prayer, supplication, and holy speech. Then, O God, would I pour out the words of my heart before your presence. On the next page.
אהבת אותם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. מאהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו Yisrael. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. We will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Shem kevod malchuto le'olam va'ed. Me'avta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam Beshivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam neot ayadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam amzuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and on earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. And therefore, let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and especially at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea, our song of redemption and freedom, the Michumocha, page 21.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Mi amocha ba elim Adonai mi amocha ne'edar b'kodesh norat tehilot osef ele norat tehilot osef ele Malchotecha ra'uvanecha Bokeya yam lifnei Moshe Ze'elianu ve'amru Ze'elianu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Mi'amocha ba'elim Adonai Mi'amocha ne'edar b'kodesh Norah tehilot osef ele Norah tehilot osef ele Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ונאמר כי פורר יעקב גלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאה ישראל.
The top of page 23, we continue. Adonai, our God, cause us to lie down in peace and raise us up, our sovereign, to life. Cover us with the sukkah of your peace. Improve us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us, remove from us enmity, pestilence, war, hunger, and anguish. Let there be no evil before us or behind us. Protect us within the shadow of your wings, for your guardian and our helper, our divine ruler, merciful and gracious. Guard our going out and our coming into life and to peace, now and forevermore. Cover us with the sukkah of your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who spreads the sukkah of peace over us, over the people of Israel and Jerusalem.
Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Hapores sukat shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo
The bottom of page 23, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat in every generation as a covenant forever. It is a sign between me and the people of Israel that in 6 days God made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God rested and was renewed.
V'shamru, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise together for tefillah.
Adonai, sifata tiftachu fi yagid hilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imoteinu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה, רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. צונך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומן המלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בך יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. The bottom of page 29, as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel taught us, the meaning of Shabbat, it's to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week we live under the tyranny of things in space, but on Shabbat, we try to become attuned to the holiness in time. It's a day when we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the result of creation to the mystery of creation, and from the world of creation to the creation of the world. We turn to page 35. Grant us peace, the most precious gift, O thou eternal source of peace, and enable Israel to be its messenger unto the peoples of the earth. Bless our country, that it may ever be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. Make contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of all lands. Plant virtue in every soul. May the love of thy name hallow every home and every heart. Praise be thou, Lord, giver of peace.
Shalom Rav, HaYisrael Amcha, Tasih Le'olam. Shalom Rav, HaYisrael Amcha, Tasih Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adom, L'chol HaShalom. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב הישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב הישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב הישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב הישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We'll take a few moments for silent prayer. At this moment in our service, we take time to think of those in our community who are in need of healing of body or spirit. On this Shabbat, we especially think of Cindy Bailey, Dr. Jason Bailey, Katie Bates, Chrissy St. Charles and Don St. Charles, Grayson Cook, Danny Jones, Bart Colber, Diane Larson, Priscilla Leaf, Barton Leaf, Wayne Lewis, Vicky Luger, Kaki Colette Mendel, Adam Nichols, Isaac Petrosky, Bethany Pridmore, Nancy Russo, Beth Scherer, Jay Shore, Robin Silverman Ayers, Dr. Lynn Simons, Jesse Weisberg, and Marguerite Varon. And we invite you to take this time to think of your loved ones who are in need of healing of body or spirits. Our Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, the bottom of page 38.
past, the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imoteinu, nikol amracha lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Want a chocolate? Thanks, Kanergy. There's a great Canadian social commentary, Malcolm Gladwell. He wrote a fascinating book called Blink. And in Blink, he argues that we have this ability to use limited information to form a very narrow period, an experience or interaction, and to come up with a conclusion. He calls this the blink effect. Now, in our lexicon for today, we would call this that we size people up, meaning that whenever we engage someone for the first time, or maybe we send them before at a limited experience, we automatically prejudge them without learning about their passions, their hobbies, who they are as individuals, their uniqueness. It's a natural part of the human condition. I think all of us try to avoid it, but blink. It happens so many times throughout our life. We try to avoid it once again, but nevertheless, we are plagued by this blink sizing up mentality. Well, don't feel too bad for ourselves, because we've been doing this for a long time, especially in Judaism. And we find this a lot in our Torah portion for this week, Parshat Toldot. In its simplest, basic generations. That's what it means. It's a story, of course, about Isaac and Rebekah and their children, their twin boys, Esau and Jacob. But here in this Torah portion, we truly discover the complexities of family life, sibling rivalry, jealousy, a complete disregard for people's emotions or feelings. Despite being a Torah portion that introduces the figure, Jacob, who would be the father of Israel, it's really a sad display of infighting, anger, the inability of being reflective, introspective, and kind. Rather, it's a tale of heartbreak and loss. But for some reason, our rabbis, those whom we consider the greatest in our tradition, begin to have the blink effect regarding Esau, where they offer teachings, interpretations, analysis that are completely off base. They're too stretched. They completely deviate from the Torah. They are cruel because of the fear they have, the unknown. And once again, our sages, the blink effect, makes them prejudge Esau. It allows them to rationalize their fear. They have a lack of listening and process. and all they do is label Esau the total other. And I'd like to share for you just some examples about Esau that our great sages write about him in our sacred Jewish literature. Isaac and Rebekah produced 2 sons. One became the personification of righteousness, that being Jacob, and the other the personification of wickedness, that being Esau. A midrash, a story, teaches us that when Rebekah was pregnant with the 2 boys, whenever she would walk past a synagogue, Jacob would immediately want to come forth from her womb because he was near the synagogue. But when she passed houses of idolatry, it was Esau who wanted to worship idols, the greatest transgression in Judaism. Moreover, perhaps this is a little personal, but Esau was born very red. His redness is a complexion portended in his murderous nature. That was written by the greatest commentator, Rashi. And moreover, Esau let his nature run rampart and became the eternal symbol of evil and cruelty. Another interpretation they want to provide for us, that Jacob grasped Esau's heel to indicate that he was trying to prevent Esau from being born first. And Rashi, once again, citing a midrash, tells us that Jacob was justified in trying to be the firstborn because he had been conceived before Esau. How Rashi would know that? So that Jacob should legitimately have been born first, and that is to receive his father's blessing and to receive his birthright, all things that Jacob manipulated and conspired against Esau. And moreover, consequently, our rabbis try to explain to us that since Jacob was conceived first, he was the spiritual firstborn and therefore entitled to the blessings. Jacob is spiritually superior. And unfortunately, we're not done when talking about Esau. From the age of 13, the essential differences became apparent, with Esau turning to idols and Jacob going to the study hall. Esau became a hunter, but not only in the literal sense. He did this by trapping his father by asking questions that would make Esau pretend to be a religious person. Jacob, nevertheless, was morally incredible, that he never was angry. Nevertheless, Esau was the opposite. Esau was all about evil and uninvolved whenever his family faced hardships. And perhaps another personal interpretation, Esau, which also translates to, they try as a dome, which means red. And this meant that he sold his birthright for the sake of red food. And this terminology, the Edomites, the redness, would be the metaphor of the Roman Empire. Esau finally was so divorced from normal human values, so consumed with hunting and game, that the redness, the murderous color, is what drove him. Every time we look at these commentaries, it always gives me pause to study them. Our initial reaction is that, why do our great rabbis have such vicious and hatred words regarding one of the children of Israel, Jacob's brother, Isaac's legitimate firstborn son, who should have, based on ancient Near Eastern norms and cultures, received the birthright and his father's blessings. Our rabbis have this blink effect. Nowhere in the Torah does it speak to Esau's evil ways. It doesn't suggest that he was unkind or mean or loved to engage in murderous activities. Arguably, in the greatest Torah portion, which we'll see in a couple weeks, sheds light on how incredible Esau's ability was to forgive his brother. But sometimes our rabbis can't see past their fear. They are driven by the natural phenomenon of the blink effect. They immediately sized up Esau because they wanted to label him as the total other. In spite of the fact that our Judaism teaches us the world stands on three things: on truth, on justice, and peace. Because the prophetic book of Zechariah teaches us, execute truth, justice, and peace within your gate. And it's when it's time to make a judgment after a critical examination of the facts. The Talmud states that a judge should always regard himself as though a sword were hanging over his head to prevent the judge from making a rush to judgment. More than ever, we still have this blink effect. Thousands of years ago, in our Torah portion, we are still living in a hyper-polarized and tribal world. We are too quick to judge, too quick to justify our fears, and too quick to take time to listen. And therefore, we've forgotten the essence of Judaism, which is to listen first, Shema, then to process, and then learn from there. We are at a time when healing and process is so necessary. And personally, I don't think it's up to those in elected positions who are responsible. It's up to us. It's our job to heal. It's our job to lead this moment of listening and processing. The lesson from this Torah portion, it's about preventing the blink moment. It's about understanding those who are labeled as the other. They too have a story that requires our listening. As much as rabbis and cantors frequently rely on Rashi and our great rabbinic masters, they truly miss it here. And our responsibility is to bring those Esau's into the world in, not to drive them away. That only leads to our separation. As we celebrate Thanksgiving shortly, perhaps our gratitude can be on listening to other people's stories, celebrating their uniqueness, recognizing the differences. That is how we prevent the blink effect. And in a couple weeks or as months go by, you may find yourself sizing up someone once again. But just remember, we all have a little Esau in us, someone prejudging us too. As much as we want them to listen to our story, al hat kama v'kama, we need to hear it from them too. Shabbat Shalom. We turn to page 40, and we rise together for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו גגאי הרצות, ולא זמנו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
יש כוכבים שהרם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. They are stars up above so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it's with the people that we love, their memories keep on shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways that we always remember. On the Shabbat, we especially think of the Yortzites. Harold Athey, Marilyn Silverfield Athey, Gail S. Baer, Elaine Blatt, Margaret L. Blumenthal, Ethel Budnick, Michael John Cohen, James Joseph Krapaya, Ellen Dube, Taft Epstein, Irma Ray Block Erdrich, Estelle Ehrlich, Isaac Lewis Fabian, Hernando Franco, Kathy H. Friedman, Noah Garden, Ida W. Grafman, Erica Green, Frida Newfield Greenfield, Frida Greenhouse, Helen Friedman Gregg, Harold Heister, Joe Marks, Heyman, Louis Henry Hirsch, Nancy Hoffman, Elias Einzelbuck, Marty Jacobs, Betty Ann Jacobson, Rose Jaffe, Nathan Aaron Kahn, J. Evan Kaufman, Scott Kraselski, Maurice Lapidus, Saul Louis, Sarah Meadows, Marilyn Michael, Stephen Pete Luck, Bertha Peresman, Phyllis Russell Rogers, Lena Rubin, Louis Royal, Elaine Capel Sag, Beatrice Schnee, Benjamin Sears, Albert Siegel, Sylvia Shyland Bierman, Irving M. Boots Silverfield, Helen Heffler Silverman, Samuel Smith, Eddie Sokol, Reba Strauss, Jody Thomas, Stella Waits, Martha Susan Weinstein, Elizabeth Cronenberg Weinstein, Irving Wolf, and Burton Zavello, and heartfelt condolences in the recent passing of Ruth Nemeth, Stephen Weisberg, Rucker Collier, and Beverly Ginsburg Landy. May all of their memories forever be a blessing, and we rise together as a united congregation for our mourners' Kaddish. Yikadal, Vikadash Shemei Rabbah,
Amen.
Bioma Divrach Hirote Vamlich Malchute, Bechayachon of Yomechon, Uvkayet Bekol Beit Yisrael, Bagala Uzman Kari, Vimru,
Amen.
Vihei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach, Leolam Olamel Maya, Yit Barach, Vishtabach, Vihit Pa'ar, Vihit Ramam, Vihit Naseh, Vietadar, Vietalev, Vietalal, Shmei Dekud Shah, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata Vishirata, Tushbechata Benechamata, Damin Ram Yoma, Vimru,
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu, V'yakol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Osei Shalom V'imromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'yakol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen.
Me'imru, 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 amen. Me'imru, me'imru, me'imru,
Once again, thank you so much, Cantor G, for joining us. It's always truly so great
Thank you, Reverend.
to have you back. And I must say, with you back comes your new glasses.
Yes.
That's correct. That's how much we know each other. We conclude with the Don't Alum 132.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nifra li'et nasav v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei yichlot hakol levado yimlot nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yiyeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni lahad shilol li'achira v'li reshit v'li tachlit v'lo ha'oz v'ha'mizra yalla la 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 v'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzur hevli v'etzara v'hud nisi u'manosli v'nad kosi v'yom ekra yalla la 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 v'hu yado afkid ruchi ve'ishan ve'ayira ve'imruchi ve'yati Adonai li v'lo ira yalla la 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 yalla la la la.
Good Shabbos.